This is Hannibal back here with my weekly review of the points I find interesting in Dave Meltzer's Wrestling Observer newsletter review. Let's start with some AEW news. I just did a report on Miro asking for his release because he's been sitting at home getting paid for doing nothing. But here's something that Meltzer actually reported on this week about AEW recently doing a collision taping where all 9 people on the poster did not appear on the event. These people included Adam Page, John Moxley, who only apparently lived an hour drive away from the event. And by the way, if someone wants to research this, I guarantee you John Moxley has been advertised more than anyone else in AEW on posters and has not appeared. He was advertised on every single Canadian show this year and did not appear. Bryan Danielson was on the poster, did not appear. Chris Jericho, Willow Nightingale, Thunder Rosa, Penta, Phoenix, and Pac were all on the poster. All 9 of them did not appear on the show. According to Meltzer, this show was taped the day after Dynamite. Page, Moxley, Jericho, Nightingale, and Pac were already on the road in Lexington, Kentucky the night before, not too far away. But instead, Nightingale and Jericho were sent to CMLL to do media in Mexico. Once again, Tony Khan prioritizing CMLL over his own company. Penta and Phoenix are heading to WWE. And for some reason, when guys jump from AEW to WWE, instead of Tony Khan jobbing them out, he just doesn't use them, which makes no sense to me. By the way, our own Jack Kilby is going to be at the AEW taping tonight in Springfield, Massachusetts. So say hi to him if you see him. Once again, Penta's on the poster for tonight. Moxley, Thunder Rosa. 2 that I guarantee will not be on the show are Thunder Rosa and Penta, even though Penta's still under contract with them. Will Moxley actually show up? Let's see. We'll do it. Jack Kilby will do a report after. And I know we got a lot of fans in the Boston, Springfield area. If you're at the show tonight, say hi to Jack Kilby, who's on vacation right now in the Boston area. In other AEW news, their biggest TV taping of the year, Grand Slam at Arthur Ashe Stadium in New York. One of the highest populated areas in the world, only has about 5,000 tickets out right now, including comps. They've had 11,000 for the show in the past. Most of the upcoming AEW events only have about 500 to 1,000 tickets sold. There are some outliers, but I mean, it's one thing you're not even doing well, but then you're false advertising people on your posters. So the people that do go, that are coming for a Jericho or a Moxley, and then they're not there, like when you advertise Jericho here and Moxley, they weren't here either in Ottawa. So how many people are going to come back when you false advertise? But oh my God, do we ever get all these Ring of Honor no names that aren't on the poster at these events that nobody cares about, and most actually leave when they start the Ring of Honor matches. Meltzer says Wardlow is still under contract. He's just one of the guys not being used. Dynamite in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania this week did 2,800 fans. In WWE news, apparently when Raw moves to Netflix in January, SmackDown, which will also be on Netflix internationally, will go to 3 hours. And I might actually get Netflix so I could watch the odd pay-per-view, but I might actually get it to see this Vince McMahon documentary that's premiering next week. Again, Meltzer's reporting right here, despite Penta being still on the poster for tonight's Collision, Penta and Phoenix are going to be debuting in WWE soon with new names. Meltzer says, as previously reported, the NXT CW show in St. Louis was moved to Chesterfield because they only had about 2,000 tickets out at a 20,000 seat building in St. Louis. The new building is going to be set up for about 1,700. Sadly, Randy Orton was the featured star for the St. Louis Advertising, and that shows that sadly Orton isn't a draw in his hometown. But it also shows how smart WWE is. When they have 2,000 seats sold in a 20,000 seat building that costs a fortune to rent, they move to a 1,700 seat building. AEW would rather go to 20,000 seat buildings with 1,000 to 3,000 people in them. And then pay. It costs money, by the way, to have that tarp put on. And a lot of these places have union workers. So, I mean, I don't know. AEW just gives me a headache these days. I'm almost at the point where I'm sick of hearing about AEW. It's just there's nothing at all interesting about it to me. But I hate when they screw over the fans with false advertising. Janelle Grant's team has hired a Democratic PR firm that has also represented Barack Obama and Joe Biden. Yes, you know, when you're a victim, one of the most important things to do is hire a PR firm. Doesn't to me like I guess why she's hiring a PR firm is because people are stopping caring about this story. Sheamus has signed a new 5-year deal, and WWE is working on locking down at least 15 of their existing contracts. Of course, they don't want any of these people going to AEW. AEW has lost a lot of momentum, and they're smart business people. They don't want to give them any. Not that Sheamus is at his peak in popularity or anything, but he's a good hand. Ken Shamrock and Armando Estrada have signed 5-year Legends contracts. Maybe we'll finally see Ken Shamrock in the Hall of Fame. There's several interviews with Ken Shamrock here on this channel. SmackDown in Seattle last week did 13,732. Raw in Billy Jack Haynes' hometown in Portland did about 10,000 on Monday. And here's the funny thing, the CMLL show that Jericho was on last week, that he no-showed the AEW press conference to do the press conference for this, had 16,000 fans. So again, I don't know why. I understand why Jericho would rather appear for CMLL, a hot company right now, than a dead company. But it's weird that the owner of the company prioritizes CMLL over his own arenas. It just doesn't even make sense. Have a wonderful weekend to you too, Betrayed by Sin. We're having really nice weather here in Ottawa, Canada, considering it's September. I'm going to be heading out for a bike ride and a workout soon. Trade by Sin agrees with me. AJ Styles and Nakamura are doing nothing in WWE. Well, they're making money. I know AJ Styles is making a lot of money, and there's just too many top guys. As good of a wrestler AJ Styles is, I mean, he wasn't good enough to beat me. I pinned him 2 times in one night. For anyone that hasn't seen it, search up Hannibal versus AJ Styles. But he was never like a draw. He was never like a guy that brought fans into the building like a Roman Reigns or a Rock or an Austin. So there's too many guys that actually draw more money than to have AJ as anything more than a high mid-carder at this point. And I like AJ. Got nothing against him. He's making a ton of money. And he's with the top company, and he's in his mid 40s. Maybe I think he's 45 or 46 right now. Who are the megastars in AEW at this point? There is none because they're failing. They're failing. They have their last major rehirees were they rehired the Young Bucks for supposedly $6 million a year. each for a limited schedule. And they recently signed Will Ospreay, Mercedes Moné, and Okada for reportedly about $4 million a year, and business has only gone down since they've signed those people. So they've been flops. So there's no, and Jericho, when he first came, was a big star. He still is in places like Mexico, but he's grown stale to most people at this point. And I mean, yes, he is helping getting young people over and stuff. I don't think he's a bad guy to have on the roster, but I think people are sick of him at this point. He's 50 years old or something, and like we've just seen him too much, and like what else does he have to do? And who else do they have? Okada, the guy that was popular in New Japan, which, by the way, New Japan is at its all-time lowest in popularity right now. Yet Tony Khan keeps signing these New Japan people that people care about even less of in the U.S. Mercedes Moné has been a total flop. She's created backstage issues, according to reports, hasn't drawn, and hasn't boosted ratings. Who is the big star in AEW right now? I really don't know. Moxley, as I said, someone should actually research it. How many times has he been advertised this year and actually not been there? And Moxley is one guy. I know he's re-signed. Supposedly he's making around $6 million a year. I don't know if that's true, but that's what I hear. He's one guy that I think is stale in AEW right now, and if he went to WWE, it would give him a boost, but I think he's pretty locked up. Dr. Britt Baker, you're right, Ivan. Supposedly, she's got a lot of heat backstage. Wish everyone a wonderful weekend. Enjoy it. It's one of the last nice weekends of good